I'm hopeful that after having been an observer for 2 other general conferences and having been an actual delegate at the last general conference in Tampa, there's finally some movement. And it's not huge movement, it's not spectacular movement, but it's movement, and I'm really glad about that. The bishops have offered, and the general conference decided to take them up on that offer to actually design a commission that will work out on human sexuality issues. And so for us, you know, when you think that things might get even worse than they are on that, it's going better. And so that's really hopeful for me.
So what things have happened behind the scenes that people don't know about that you're excited about?
It's always great to connect with United Methodists. As a denomination, I think we're particular and a little peculiar. You know, we laugh and we joke about, you know, how much we enjoy eating and how long it takes for us to actually gather back together. You know, a 10-minute break is actually a 20-minute break. And so gathering with friends who kind of live that reality is a lot of fun. But you also do some of the best conversations outside of the floor of General Conference. And so meeting friends of friends, meeting friends who have other folks they just met, and so all of a sudden you find you're making new connections. And, you know, much like a classroom, you know, you go in and you think, okay, I'm going to learn something, but that learning happens with cohorts, friends, colleagues outside of the classroom. I think if I were to say kind of the sense of the General Conference and what's been going on, I would liken it to riding a roller coaster, because I really feel like that has been, and I know that that's a pretty common illustration or metaphor, but it really is that excitement that when you first got on, you know, get on that roller coaster, you're like, okay, I can do this, you know, and you had friends kind of nudge you along and get you into the car to start going up, and the car's going up and you keep telling yourself, I can do this, you know. And so that's sort of like the first week, those first few days that people are jockeying to lead different committees, subcommittees. But then all of a sudden you get to the top where, all right, let's start debate, let's start the full floor of delegates voting on different issues. And all of a sudden, like your tummy just goes down as if you were leaving that apex of the roller coaster and just heading down. And so your stomach's just like, you know, and you feel like you're having some sort of out-of-body experience immediately. And then there are the loop-de-loos of, again, as you know, I'm sure others have mentioned, just the whole piece around human sexuality. In Wisconsin, we've kind of worked through that. While we're not all of one mind, I think overall as a conference we have kind of come to where we want to be on that, about human sexuality and rights and full inclusion. But man, when all of a sudden you're around a lot of other people who have very different opinions, very different backgrounds, that's tough. And so you'll find yourself doing those loop-de-loos and getting rattled around on the old wooden roller coaster and just getting headaches and stress just from that movement back and forth. So I'm glad. I think we're about to make our way back down into the landing spot of the roller coaster and make our way out of here. So it feels good. If I can just throw one other thing out. Initially things were feeling pretty good when the bishops had said, okay, they had come out with a statement after there had been just some discussion of a possible schism. And you know, we were all with bated breath whether or not something was going to happen. You know, there's going to be a big announcement by the bishops. And it was rather anticlimactic in the sense that they said what they always say, which is, we want unity and we want, you know, the work of the General Conference to help us to do this, da-da-da. And what I appreciated is there was a sense that it wasn't quite enough, and it wasn't. And so people were still just kind of holding their breath to say, but what then? Tell us what. And it was a good friend of mine, his name is Mark Holland, and he was the gentleman who stood up to turn and offer that motion that spoke to the bishops, actually kind of taking the bull by the horns and offering us to do something to move forward, because we were really just at a stalemate. And so the body decided to approve that, which was crazy and wonderful at the same time. And then they actually came back, you know, with a proposal that we passed. So for me, just so much breath in and out of the whole body, I think has been one of the most delicate but also hopeful pieces. And I couldn't help but think of the passage of Ezekiel, I think it's chapter 37, and just God telling Ezekiel to prophesy, prophesy to these dry old bones in the valley, because we felt like we were in that valley of death. And it was just wonderful that Mark's proposal just began that prophecy for us, and you could feel the breath starting to come back. And so I'm feeling at this point we've got some tendons and some muscle building on, and so if we could just finish this off by putting some real muscle, skin, and putting the bone together, I think we can walk away from this general conference saying that something moved ahead for us, and to me that's totally hopeful. And so as God asked the question, will these bones live? Can these bones live? I think the people of God can live, and I'm really excited about that.
Are there any other petitions that you were happy that passed while we were here?
I would say that I was happy about things passing. I was happy that things didn't pass. And again, because right now I feel like the church is in a great place with mission and evangelism, congregational development. The big piece for us that's heavy on my heart, as so many, is the human sexuality piece. We are just not moving forward. When the United States government, the Supreme Court, and the U.S. Army are more inclusive than our church, that's a problem. And so I was pleased that some things that would have taken us steps back in the subcommittees and the committees, they ended up being defeated on the floor. And so coming back to that body to say, okay, small groups might try and take us a different route, but as soon as it came back to everybody, we said, no, we don't want to go that way. And so that was very hopeful.